Britain's Supreme Court has ruled that the definition of a woman in equality legislation is based on biological sex at birth. The case was brought by a feminist group that opposes gender self-identification. The decision means transgender women can be excluded from single-sex spaces such as changing rooms.
Judgment in the matter of...
The unanimous decision of this court is that the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to a biological woman and biological sex. But we counsel against reading this judgment as a triumph of one or more groups in our society at the expense of another. It is not.
The ruling is the culmination of a 7-year battle by rights group For Women Scotland. It was prompted by a Scottish Parliament ruling that transgender people should be included in quotas designed to promote women's representation. The UK's highest court says that violated equality law, which protects women and transgender people separately. The ruling has implications for the whole of the UK.
And today, the judges have said what we always believed to be the case, that women are protected by their biological sex, that sex is real, and that women can now feel safe that services and spaces designated for women are for women.
In the judgment, it was read out that the problem of any other interpretation was that it would have given trans people more rights than other people. So this just sets it back to square one. Everyone has equal rights. Not one group is privileged over another.
Some lesbian rights campaigners have welcomed the ruling.
In order for lesbians' rights, our rights as same-sex attracted women, to be protected by the law, we need to be able to say that women are biological women, not men who say that they are women.
Now it means that I can go back to my lesbian walking group, for example, and say it's all right, you can stop worrying about not letting men in. The law is on our side. We're allowed to just walk with other lesbian women without having to include men in that or be frightened of being taken to court.
Transgender rights campaigners say the ruling is an attack on the rights of a vulnerable minority.
But I think we've seen for a number of years now where various judgments and government decisions have taken us, and it's getting harder and harder and harder to exist as an openly trans person in this country. And I think that's what people fear.
Well, obviously I'm disappointed. No judge can tell me who I am. It just feels as if it's an attack on trans people, even though the judge went out of his way to clarify that it wasn't.
Scotland's semi-autonomous government has said it accepts the judgment. The British government welcomed the ruling, saying it would provide clarity and confidence for women.
Well, DW's Birgit Maass is in London. She's been following this story and joins us now. Birgit, tell us more about this Supreme Court ruling. What's significant about it?
Well, first of all, it's a very emotive issue and touches many people's identity very, very deeply. And basically what the judges have ruled against is the Scottish government. The Scottish government had introduced something called certified sex, and the Supreme Court, the UK Supreme Court, has now ruled that this basically is wrong, and that the law, the UK law, includes the Scottish law, refers to biological sex. So basically, for example, a trans woman, when she has something like a gender certificate, gender recognition certificate, that then there's still, the sex is still the biological sex. Now, this is an interpretation of a UK law, the Equality Act from 2010, and potentially the implications could be that there could be limited access for trans women, in particular, to women-only spaces.
So, for transgender people living in the UK, how could this affect their lives?
Well, there is a lot of interpretation still to be done. That's what a lot of groups are saying. So the judges have made clear that trans people are an incredibly vulnerable group, that they recognize that they're often discriminated against, and they said they still have all protection against discrimination under UK law. However, there is a suggestion that women-only spaces such as toilets or gyms or wings in prison, that they could potentially exclude trans women. The judges have said that they had to basically balance the rights of one heterogeneous, very complex group of trans people versus a bigger group, the rights of a distinct biological group. And this is how they have interpreted the law, the 2010 law. They acknowledge it's an extremely sensitive issue, and like you said, it's not a win of one group over the other, because there had been quite a lot of debate, especially on social media, of women, lesbian groups, for example, and trans groups. So it's been really fiercely debated, and it touches people really deeply, some people.
Indeed, it is a very contentious issue. How are political leaders and advocacy groups in the UK reacting to the ruling, Birgit?
The Scottish government has said that they have accepted the ruling. Trans groups, some of them have said that they were really devastated. However, that they will look into the implication. I thought it was interesting to look at Harriet Harman. She is a distinguished MP, Labour MP, was for a long time deputy leader of the Labour Party, over 40 years an MP, and she's now a UK special envoy for women and girls. She's not an MP anymore, but she said it was the correct interpretation of the law, and that single-sex spaces can, in some cases, exclude trans women, but only when necessary. So I thought that was a very interesting reaction from Harriet Harman.
Birgit, thank you very much. That was our correspondent, Birgit Maass, in London.